trip. That's
I'm so curious how you ended up, because you said it was a little bit of a weird story. I'm so curious.
So I haven't told this one on camera. A lot of my friends know this story about me. Back when I was 15, I took a trip from Long Beach, California to Seattle City, New Jersey.
Wow.
On a bike.
No way.
Yes.
Wait, now when you say bike.
A bike. Not the kind you have. I'm talking one with pedals.
No way.
Yes.
This is insane.
It was 50 days.
Really?
I was 15, so it was about 20 years ago now.
Really?
We rode from Long Beach, California, 50 days, across the country, 14 states, and all the way back up here, and we finished in Seattle City.
This is nuts. So you're a 15-year-old.
Yep.
And you're with which?
There was 5 total kids, so
Okay.
4 other kids and 3 adults.
Wow. This is like blowing my mind. The idea that, like, okay, so 3 adults are like, all right, we're going to take these 5 children. And how old were the kids?
So
all 15?
We were all 15 or 16.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the one adult that put this whole thing together, he had done this trip before. He was a biker, and he had gone back and forth a couple times. He had done the ride across the country.
They choose to do it again?
And so he wanted to do it again. He had done it by himself, and then he invited several people, myself included, and said, you know, each of you have a reason to be on this trip. That's why I'm inviting each of you for your own specific reasons in yourself, and that's why I'm inviting each of you on this trip. And so it was 5 adult, the 3 adults and the 5 kids. The 2 adults, 2 of the adults had to go back at certain points in time, so they never actually finished the entire ride. They one had left at one point for like his daughter's or somebody's wedding, so couldn't miss it. Another adult had to go back for something else for a couple weeks, so he didn't finish the whole thing, and one of the kids didn't make it. So, I mean, other than that, it was, you know, the four kids finished, and one adult. The one adult that was the one that had gone back and forth was the one who finished it. So
that's unbelievable. You do realize, like, I must be talking to the only person within 10 miles of here who's done this.
I would hope more than 10 miles. There's a few of us. Yeah, I mean, he did the ride again afterwards. With another group. He did it one more time with another group after us. There's not a lot of it online because obviously it's 20 years ago now.
Yeah,
so there's not a lot of internet presence. I mean, but there's newspaper stuff and everything like that. So yeah, it's God's honest truth, folks. I'm not kidding about this one. But it was yeah, that was my road trip. So.
Yeah, no, wait. All right, so I'm so curious. All right, first of all, like I've the longest hiking trek I've ever done is like 84 miles. And I remember the amount of work that went into training for that.
Oh, yeah.
What was the training for a cross-country 50... Well, first of all, how many miles are you doing a day?
You can do about 100 a day.
No way. Wow.
Yeah. Well, the city to shore is 75 to 100.
That's true. Okay, yeah.
So you're looking at... Yeah, it's a lot of that ride is... The training is basic muscle training. You're doing basic stamina training, which is something that, thank God, hung with me for... Excuse me. Since then is the stamina training. I'm not built for strength. I'm not built to lift heavy things, but when something needs to be done over a long period of time, I can do that work. I can, so that's what we trained on was more stamina training than muscle training. So it was more things like on a bike or on and it was training that, and then rides. You slowly lengthen the rides and you do different things on the rides and you train. And then, I mean, there was only so much we could do. We had a couple days where we did long rides, like a 2-day thing that was like, hey, we're going out here one day and then we're going. But then there was a certain point where it was like, okay, we're ready. We're going. Wow. So we packed all our shit up, our bikes, bags.
So everything fit on
everything
the bike.
Was on the bikes. We had bags on the front, bags on the back,
and
then like a flat part across the top of the back wheel that had like, bigger shit like the tent rolls and sleeping rolls and shit like that.
Crap.
And then that was...
No way.
And then we had that for the whole way. Yeah, we had no trail cars, none of that.
No way. What about camping most of the way?
That's why we only did so much per day. Like we did upwards of 100 miles. Some days were 100, if that. Some were less because it was like, well, from here to here is where we're gonna stay.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's it. We can't just ride till we're tired.
No,
then it's like, okay, where the fuck are we?
Yeah.
There's especially spots like out where you're talking about, like New Mexico, Arizona, where it's like nothing.
No, yeah.
Fucking nothing.
No, yeah.
And Arizona especially. There were spots in Arizona where it was like, okay, this city is here. This city is 45 miles away.
Yeah.
We have nothing
really
in between. So it was like, we just have to ride for that long to get from A to B. And that was it. So we had to stop in certain places. And that was, that was what restricted us. And then sometimes you'll have times where you just ride and you just don't even fucking feel it. But once you get trained up for that, it was, riding was nothing. Your legs are like, I'm fine, because you just got so used to it. You were just like, riding was nothing. It wasn't a race.
Yeah.
We weren't racing. We were just riding. And doing that is a lot different than watching a race, because those guys that do the one that's here every year, the Philly one, the big bike race. Yeah, I'm so good with these, but whatever the race is that's here, and you see those guys, and they complete that race so fast.
Yeah.
And that's what's so hard. But just getting on a bike and riding, it's a mental thing. And that's basically what it was just keep pushing yourself. Same as a hike.
Yeah.
It's like I'm hurting, I'm tired, but I'm going to go.
Now, can I ask, like, your friends, like, I remember a lot of, because I was in my 20s at this point. So, like, a lot of people were just envious that, I could do something for 2 months and, like, take off from work or whatever, because a lot of friends are either in school or, they're in the middle of an important career move and everything else.
Right.
When you're at 15 and you're explaining to your other friends, okay, I just finished, or I'm getting ready to bike across the country, what are their responses? Like, I just can't imagine. Like,
most people thought I was full of shit and I'd never make it.
Really?
Yeah,
wow.
A lot of them thought I'd never make it.
Holy hell.
The reason I was invited was because I was one of the smaller ones. I had, I guess, what you'd want to call, I'm sure there's a term for it somewhere, it's like a reverse Napoleonic complex, I guess. I was small, and I always thought that I couldn't do shit about it. So I thought because I was small, I couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
So I'm like, so it's the opposite. It was like a Napoleon complex is like, I'm small, fuck it, I can do anything I fucking want.
Yeah.
But for me, I was like, I'm small, I can't do shit. And that's what I always thought. And turned out, once my brain got opened up to just do shit, it was like, oh, I can do this. And that's what it was. And a lot of people, everybody in my town thought I never would have made it.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, they had me pegged as, you said underdog earlier. That was me. I was the one. They were like,
wow.
Everybody thought I wasn't going to make it.
Wow, you proved them all wrong.
Yeah.
I'm imagining this race ending up in the town, and everyone would be like, wow.
It actually did.
This is really,
we
no
came
way.
through town, so the coolest 2 days of it was, the last 2 days we stayed, I guess the second to last day we stayed in a place that was out, like Valley Forge area. We had a contact out there. We stayed there in Valley Forge. So that morning we rode in from Valley Forge. We rode into Philadelphia to the Art Museum.
Yeah.
My dad fortunately had some contacts in Philly. We got a police escort from the Art Museum over the Ben Franklin Bridge.
No way. This is insane.
We rode on the tarmac, not on the ramp for the locals. We didn't ride on the top that you can walk on. We were on the deck, which was weird because in the middle of us riding on the deck, there was a police chase in the left lane that went screaming past us. Yeah, which was weird. So we had a police escort in the right lane. We went over and we were handed over to the Camden police, who took us right down and through, and then down 168 and right into Audubon.
Really?
And then that's where the whole town was pretty much there waiting for us.
Wow. This is insane.
Yeah. God's honest truth.
Wow.
It's there. And so that, and then the whole town was there waiting for us. We stayed the next day at the teacher who put it together. We stayed at his house that night, and then that was in Franklinville. And then we headed down to the shore the next morning and finished it up in Sea Isle City.
What was it like afterwards? Were you like, man, I can do anything? Like, look at, like, what was you feeling the first few days just right afterwards?
Just fucking sleep.
Yeah.
Like, it being in a normal bed again was like the first big thing. I mean, the problem is a lot of people back then, it wouldn't have been the reaction you had. Nowadays it is, but back then when you're in high school, people will just be like, fuck you. You think you're better than me. Fuck.
Really?
That's what it was.
Wow.
And
I can't.
that's the way it always is. And so it never became like until recently. Like until, I mean, not recently, but, you know, after I was older, you know, out of high school and shit like that, and I'm around adults who I can tell that kind of story to and be like, yeah, this is what happened. They're like, oh shit. And they're like, wow, that's a thing. Other people, when you're a kid, they're like, get the fuck out of here. No one will believe me. I'm like, yeah, I have the key to a city. It's upstairs. It's like, do you want, you know?
Really?
And it's, because the mayor and it's like, people are like, I don't fucking care. This thing. It's like, no, I'm not. It's a thing I did for me. Yeah. There wasn't a reason for it. The same as like you guys took. It was that was your thing. That was your buddies. And for me, it was me. I wasn't close with any of the people on the ride.
Yeah.
I really didn't talk to anybody for almost 2 months. And
wow.
And pretty much it was just me in my head with headphones on, with one tape.
Really? What tape?
It was Live's Mental Jewelry.
Really?
I know that entire album by heart. I could probably play it if I wanted to. I could probably replay the entire album. I had Live's Mental Jewelry on a Walkman. It was a tape.
Yeah.
So, for all you young viewers who don't know what a tape is, fuck off. Because they had CDs when we did this, so don't even fucking ask. They had CDs, but we had to have a tape because A, it was less power, B, it wouldn't skip. I was on a bike. Eat it.
Yeah.
So I had one tape, and I would just ride until that tape ran out, flip the fucking tape, and keep riding, and that was just me. I was just in my head, just riding. And I mean, I could do a 4-hour podcast on the shit that we saw, did, and it was something. But it was for me. It wasn't to be like I'm better than you because I did it. I tell anybody you can do it. Honestly, anybody can do it. If I did it, anybody can do it. You have to learn to train your head. You have to tell yourself not to stop. And that proved to me right when I came back. I always loved watching sports channels after that. And I saw a strongman competition after I got back from the ride. You watch these guys move these giant fucking rocks and lifting cars and throwing kegs over a fucking fence 200 feet in the air, whatever they're doing. And then they stand there and they hold a car battery out like this.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, how hard is that? Do it.
Yeah.
Go ahead and do it. It's not that it burns. It's how long can you tell yourself that it burns before you stop doing it. And that's what it was. It's train your brain to just go. Work yourself harder. Do things. And again, this goes back to exactly what we said earlier. Get better at what you want to be. Do what you want to do. And that's where it came from. And it taught me to focus and do the stuff that you want to do. And that's what I pulled from it. That's really, don't just let what people say about you stop you from doing things. Do it because you want to do it. Do it because you want to be there. And that's it.
I have just two last questions.
Go ahead.
One was your family surprised, worried, concerned, and the other question was, what was the scariest part you had experienced during it? Like, was it like you were in a dangerous area, or you were afraid
I got answers
of
for
moving?
both of those. I got both answers for those. Yeah. So my parents were concerned, obviously. Your kid's going to be 3,000 some odd miles away in California on a bike. I mean, she trusted the teacher and everything like that. Well, the three teachers, they were the three people that were two of them were teachers. So she trusted them implicitly to go, and everything was fine. I mean, but, you're on a bike.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to get worried. Shit can happen, which brings up the scariest moment, which was we were on a road in fuck if I know where anymore. A big wide open road, and we're on the shoulder, and it was a downhill run. I mean, fucking downhill straight.
Oh my gosh! And
I was behind somebody. Enough of ways you learn all the proper following. You're not right on somebody's tail, and a tractor trailer came in the right lane and caught a draft, and we were fucking moving. We must have been doing probably 30 miles an hour because it was just a straight. I mean, there's certain parts of the country that it's just rolling hills. So you get to the top, and then you just
going straight down.
Yeah, you just put it in neutral and fucking run, and that's what we did. And it was going, but then when that wind hit, it took her tire, and she just got that wobble, and then that was it. And then it threw her and the bike, and she went over, and that was
really.
Yeah, and I froze. There was nothing I could do, and
wow.
So it was a weird moment when that happened, but that was pretty scary. So, but I mean, she was okay. She got a couple stitches in her chin, and that was the worst of it. A couple other scrapes and scuffs, but I mean, you're doing 30 miles an hour on a bike.
Yeah.
So, and you've seen it happen before where like a wheel will wobble, and that's it. There's no stopping it. Once it starts that wobble, it's done. You see it on skateboards or anything, and yeah, it was. I mean, there's a ton of moments like that with strange things that happened, and strange weather and just things. And it was, one of our first few nights we're in California, which is why when you say California, I was like, oh, it's so cool there. We were taking a bath in a creek. So we were like in this like ravine kind of area, and we're in this creek, and there's nice running water. So we're getting kind of cleaned up, and, and we look over the hillside, and there's just, some smoke, and there's a forest fire over the next hillside that was going on the other side of this thing, and we're in the creek. It was nuts. So things like that, we never. And this was early. I'm like, oh boy, this is gonna be a long time. So, but we also learned a lot about how decent people can be and how people can help you out. One part of Arizona, and I'll stop talking about this shit.
No, that's good. This is really good.
Went. There was one part in Arizona, which is why I remember like the huge gaps between cities. And there was a part where we were just fucking done. We were out of water. We were.
Oh shit.
It was like it was literally 50 miles between cities. Like there was nothing between. And we're about 40 miles in. We're all gassed. We're out of water. I mean, what was water is now steam at this point because it was fucking so hot.
Yeah.
And out of the middle of nowhere, there's these line techs, like just cable line techs in a cherry picker truck, and they're there, and they're just, eating, and they see us, and they're like, they stop us, they wave us down. They stopped. We sat in the shade of their truck, talked with these guys. They had those big orange Gatorade buckets full of ice water. I mean, out of fucking nowhere. So you're like, holy shit, where the hell did these guys come from? And it just blows your mind. And these guys could have just watched us go. And they're like, yo, you guys need water? And they stopped us. And so shit like that was like
clutch.
Yeah. And you never know what's going to happen out there. We had one. Okay, fine. One more story. but I'm, the kindness of what's going on out there. There was a night in Kansas, and we were out there. We were all in tents. We were just camped in this person's yard. We called them ahead of time. We were stayed in their yard. And I mean, it rained like I've never known rain in my life. And it was so bad, like their yard was like 3 or 4 inches. Our tent started to float. Like it was so bad. So we were like, what are we going to do? All our shit was soaked. This lady called everybody she knew in fucking town. It was like bright and early in the morning. She's calling everybody. Everybody's taking our stuff. They're putting our shit in their washers and dryers.
Wow.
We got all our shit back.
Wow.
We had all our tents hanging out and dried out.
No way.
And we were set to go by mid-morning and rolling. It was so shit like that. When people start to lose faith in humanity, I'm like, no, it's there. It's still there.
Yeah.
You just got to see it. And, and that's why I tell people, they're like, oh, would you do it again? I wouldn't.
Really?
I got what I needed out of it.
Yeah.
I got what I needed. I tell people, no, you should do it.
Really?
You should see the way the world is. You should see it from the back of a bike.
Yeah.
And be there and be in the situations, and people should do it. You need something like that in your life to define yourself.
Yeah.
And I tell people, go do it, please. Really, train, do it, and put yourself out there. I know it's tough for some people who would have to walk away from their job. Honestly, you can do it in a month.
Really?
A month, maybe a little bit more when you're well trained. Because again, we were 15.
Yeah.
The city to shore is 100 miles a day.
Yeah.
Look how many people do that on a regular basis. So it's 100 miles. You can do this, and it's 3,200 across the country, give or take. So you can hit that no problem. And so if you do it, we stopped. We were doing shorter trips. We'd hit Grand Canyons. We stopped for a day or two, checked out the Grand Canyon. We spent the first week out in Catalina and around Long Beach just to get used to the time change, because you lose 3 hours and all of a sudden you're like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
So I tell people, do it. You need it or something like it. Find that thing. I mean, that drive with your buddies is perfect. It's not as much of a physical strain.
No, yeah, definitely not a physical strain. But it's definitely something where you put you outside of your comfort zone, and you have to experience really putting your hands in the lot and pretty much the idea of like, okay, can somebody help me when I'm in the middle, like nowhere, and that's the one thing that, like you said, that experience you had where basically everyone with either in the story about the gentleman with the helping you with the water with the cherry picker, or the Kansas with the helping you dry your clothes. These kinds of moments are pivotal because of, like, I remember this one time I was trying to do 34 miles in 2 days hiking, and I remember I was just coming up, and it was like on the last 4 or 5 miles, and it was about 8 o'clock at night, and I was in this prairie in New Mexico, and there was just this prairie deer. And it was at this time when mountain lions are just eating.
Oh,
and I remember thinking to myself, oh boy, this is really not great. And I'm hiking along this road, and I'm trying to go ahead and try to make it back onto the reserve so I can meet up with some friends. And same friends I went on the road trip with years later. And I'm like thinking like, I'm not going to make it. It's going to be so dark, and these deer are attracting a lot of mountain lions. This is real bad. And I just got lucky. These 3 Land Rovers were coming up behind me.
Wow.
And they're like, yeah, no, we're just out here. We have some guests from out of town. We want to show them the deer and of course the mountain lions. And we're just driving, and they were willing to drive me, I guess enough, about 3 or 4 more miles up the road, and there was another mile to the campground where I was heading to meet up with those friends. And I remember, like, the craziest thing was they all went. The people who were driving the cars, they were all Rutgers graduates. They were all people, like, they're all from New Jersey. They're all. I was like, wow, what a small world, and what kindness. So it was nice that last lift. But those kind of moments when you have no other options, you're just basically, boy, on the kindness of strangers, that everything kind of came together like that.
Yeah.
Those are absolutely pivotal moments. That's it.
Yeah, and people don't realize it, and they take that shit for granted because I think so many people see all the crap in social media, and we're so bombarded with news and social media, and you don't find that stuff that helps you grow, though. You don't, people show this stuff, and it's people are just like, oh, look, and they get fed this crap. And
absolutely.
Like, to tell my story online, it would be so hard to make that like a motivational story for people because they don't want to hear,
Yeah.
But to me, for what it did for me was where it's valuable. Other than that, that's why you got to do it, folks. Like he said, you never know who you're going to run into. You never know what you're going to learn on something like this. You have that chance to change your life, make yourself better. Do it. Get the hell out there. Don't stop wasting your time. Just especially if you're just trudging in your life and you're not sure where you're going to go. If you're just treading water, just go. Because you don't have anything to lose at that point, and it can straighten you out. A lot of people say, a lot of people did that with the military. Right. Like, and boom, and they went in and it helped make them a better person. Yeah. You get the training, you get to get your head on straight, and it did a lot for me too. It a little younger than military age, but it did. It straightened me out a little bit, and so it was it was a thing. So I mean, even for you, I almost wish I had your experience. It would be a little bit better as opposed to coming home with lots of suntan and really big thighs and calves. I would have much rather seen things in the car and done it because, well, each thing has its own merits. I mean, so yours wasn't as physical.
No.
But you were along with your buddies. And you got to see so much of the country. I mean,
that's always helpful. Yeah,
and there was a lot of stuff that came from it. As far as working out, we got to be this with money, we got to do this, and there was so much going on, and it's so cool to see it that way, as opposed to busting your ass on a bike.
No, absolutely. But I would love to know, and it's so hard to do this, and I'm sure I'd have to do a lot of research, but is to figure out the cost difference of both ways. Because automatically, I got to say, like, the bike, you've figured out a way to, between the camping and everything else, like, to do something so important, so cost effective.
Well, yeah, the bikes were probably one of the more expensive parts back in time. But other than that, you had flights, but then again, back 20 years ago, flights were cheaper.
Yeah. So
you had your flight. It was one way. That's really cheap. So you had one-way flight. You're out there, and then it was, it was mostly KOA campgrounds, and those were dirt cheap. Like, they were real. I mean, they had basic facilities, but it was just...
That's all you needed.
Yeah, we just camped there, and that was it. And that was basically it. There really was a lot of the places we stayed at that were people.
Yeah.
Like I said, the people in Kansas.
Yeah.
It was there. I guess back then it was more like I don't know if it was like a newsletter or something that was similar. That was like, hey, if you're hiking or camping or riding, these are people that are on this list that you can call, and if they're available, they'll put so that's what they had. It was like a directory, and it's like, you can stay here with these people, and that's what and you'd call these people or write to them and find out where, whether you could stay there or not, and that was what you did. And so that saved a lot of expenses.
Of course, yeah.
And it was something, man. That was probably the price really wasn't bad.
No, I can't imagine it being too bad. I guess my last question. So sorry with all these
no,
questions.
It's fine. This raises a lot of questions. Usually the first one I get, which you didn't do, which is one of the first ones, which people go, why? That's usually the first reaction.
Really?
They're like, why? I'm like,
oh, no, this is about getting the most enjoyment out of life. This is the big thing. Like, you've got an experience that like sets you apart. That not just makes you unique, but like that you can only get from living. Only by living can you get such a great experience. But I guess I was just curious, like, what did you guys eat? I'm so curious. I don't know why.
We did have some freeze-dried stuff.
Okay, of course.
So we had some basic packed, almost MREs, essentially. Yeah. But they were pretty much like freeze-dried stuff that we had as essentials. But because we could go to campgrounds and stuff like that, we would find places to eat. We'd go through towns. Because there was very few places that were that sparse. We would stop for a place for lunch. We would stop for a place for dinner. And, and then, we'd never ride after dark.
Really smart.
Yeah,
so
no riding after dark.
So smart.
Because this was also 20 years ago again, so they didn't have lights on bikes.
Yeah.
Nowadays we take it for granted. You've got a little thing on your bike that's got a AA battery in it and as bright as the fucking sun.
Yeah.
Now that's nothing. That's $2 in the store.
Yeah.
Back then that would never happen. So we didn't have that sort of stuff. So it was like night done. Once the sun starts to go down, it was over. So, so it was. I mean, everything like that was pretty much simple. It was like we found a place, we'd stay there. We found a cool place for lunch. We found even places for lunch were an experience sometimes.
Really?
One place was like, oh, this guy had a sign out front. It was like and it was probably the coolest place we ever ate at. This guy had like, you go in, you get a grilled cheese sandwich, chips, and all the lemonade you could drink for $1 or $2 or something like that, and that's what it was. And it was like so cool. And everybody, I mean, it was. If you watch the movie Groundhog's Day.
Yeah.
And you see that town, that old town look where it's just like the stuff on the main drag, and that was where we were.
Really?
Was that it must have been that town, I swear to God. Or whatever, however they designed that town, it was the same guy came in and designed this town because that was the way this town looked. It just looked like something out of 1940s nostalgia that just was untouched. And it was an awesome town. And I probably should do a podcast on this. And pull. I have a journal of shit from days and places. Yeah, so I knew where it was. So, but it's kind of hard to pull it out of my brain right now. But
of course,
I couldn't tell you what state that was.
No,
I assume Midwest because that just screams Midwest. Like Kansas. So but so a lot of places were like that, and it was we could get by without spending a lot. I mean, you're talking $1995 or $1998. So yeah. It's not as bad as, now. Like, oh, God, lunch at McDonald's is $10.
It's unbelievable. Yeah. Unbelievable. Whenever I'm, passing through, I'm always, amazed that it's, $10 for that. Back in 1998 may have been when they were first releasing the dollar menu, and things legitimately were $1. Yeah. It was, you could do fine.
Yeah, well, that was what we ate. McDonald's was
really
great. Yeah, that is the best food you can eat when you're doing, because it's high calorie, high protein. The fat, you need the fat to burn off. You can't sit and eat leafy greens and expect to go 3,000 miles. No, you're not going to do it. So, you get that kind of, you look at anybody who's an athlete. You look at, what's your diet? I eat 2 fillets of chicken, 3 fish, a bunch of, you need the food. And so it was, we'd try to balance it out for dinner and eat regular stuff, but that lunch, that McDonald's, that junk could just sustain you. That protein and the starch and the fat. It's like, I could go, and you needed it. It was amazing. You think now that's so bad for it. No, it went away so fast. You were hungry by 2:00. But man, it's man, I would trade though. I would say I'd rather do it in the car. I would rather do it in the car. I'd rather do it in the car with people I liked, because I think that would have made it a lot more interesting. Being just picked, because I mean, imagine your ride. Let's just say it's the same ride.
Yeah.
I don't know how many guys were you with.
I was with 3 other guys.
3 other people. So about the same amount of people, right? So you got 3 other people, and they handpicked 3 random assholes.
Yeah.
That you now have to right.
Yeah. You're right. I that 84-mile trek was with people I didn't know as well, the hiking.
Okay.
And I remember thinking to myself, boy, Like it's harder when you're not with people who like understand that you're gonna be moody because of whatever, on one particular day, or maybe like you're not enjoying that day as much as you could be.
Yeah.
Like you'll be around other people.
Yeah, and you tell them to shut the fuck up and get on, and that's fine. But when you do that to somebody you don't know, it's not gonna.
It doesn't work. I remember. I remember like it took me a while. It took me about, I would say, a month into it to start realizing, and I guess this was around like it was Mount Rushmore. We had just a very big argument in the car, and people were just like very tense. And these are the three good friends that we all grew up with. Like it was not like anything. And I remember thinking like, all right, I'm gonna just deviate from the plan. We are going to go to what's the place that you get ice cream from that's on the it was like not like Sonic, but the other place that you get like the Freezy
Dairy
Blast.
Queen?
Dairy Queen, yeah. I remember like, all right, we're gonna take a pit stop at Dairy Queen. I'm gonna get everyone lunch. You know why? Because everyone's in a bad mood. So yeah, when you're with people that you're like close enough with, you can fix things quicker.
Yeah.
And you can try to get things back on track. And I remember how helpful it is to like work together to be like, all right, we need to get everyone back on the same path of doing something, so everyone's really reminded that they're there to have a good time.
Right.
So yeah, I could see that the people you're with, and that goes back to that old there's a Jerry Seinfeld quote, I believe, where he's just like, a good meal isn't what you're eating like a hot dog. It's generally who you're sharing the meal with. That's what makes a good meal. It's who you're with.
Yeah, that's the truth. And not taking pictures of it and putting it on Instagram.
Yeah.
Knock that shit off, people. That's all I got to say. Sorry. I got to get that off my chest.
Foodies are so...
I saw a video,
yeah,
and it cracked me the hell up. It's this girl, like this guy's taking a video of his girlfriend, and she's ready to take a picture of her food, and he's watching her, and she looks like she's getting ready, and the camera does that little blink like it's ready to do the flash, and he goes over and just goes like this, wham, and just smashes the food with his hand. And I thought it was, I almost pissed myself watching it because it was perfect. I'm like, thank you so much, because we all want to do it.
That's hilarious.
I'm sorry I had to get that out.
No, that's really good. That's so funny. I like that a lot.
But I guess we should move this thing along because we've apparently been at this for an hour and 20 minutes already.
Boy.
So we should move this along somewhat. All of you guys know none of my podcasts are going an hour as I originally planned. Really? So just hang on for the ride, folks. Just get used to it.
I'm so sorry.
Don't worry about it. They all go 2 hours anymore.
Oh, wow.
I started at about a half hour. I'd be lucky if I could squeeze 45 minutes. And then it's like, oh, we got hours. That's pretty constant. And then it was just 2 hours. I've been doing 2-parters for like 2 months now. Yeah.
Oh, nice though. That's great. That's really great that you figure out a way to like, get.
No, we just don't shut up. That's all. It's not figuring anything out. We just don't shut the fuck up. I'm not gonna lie. Don't sugarcoat it. Don't lie to my viewers.
This is him doing a great job. This is it. So enjoyable. That's how this works. Time flies. That's great.
There's no magic behind the curtain back here, folks. So before this all started, I gave Andy a piece of paper with the circles for the full circle test. So if the name kind of comes back, I've kind of thought of it that whenever we start talking about stuff, things in the circles come full circle. It seems like everything that we talk about during the podcast seems to come back around.
Great.
So I call this thing the full circle, and hopefully here we go. So now,
wow,
you guys can see what he's
That's
looking
beautiful.
at. Yeah, a little pop up there that we can see.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if we want to get full circle as we did, now, mind you, Andy drew this before this started and had no prior knowledge of what I did.
Yeah, none.
And
none.
There's a bike in the middle of this.
It is, yep.
So,
and then there's a little bit of America right there.
So there you go.
Yep,
we got
biking
America.
Across America. This is perfect. This is really good.
And the sun, which is angry and probably one of the worst parts of being out there, for no doubt. So I got to ask about some of the other stuff. Is it mostly just doodles, or is there some meaning as we go across from the sun here? So.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So if we go across from the sun, we've got the whole idea of like a divisive personality. We're basically somebody who's in conflict with themselves. That's kind of the way that next circle is, where I'm like, you've got one color and you've got another color, and they're just kind of both. They have to coexist with each other.
Right. Okay.
Then you got the bicycle, and then the next thing is the star. The star is really important to me because of the fact that I really like the idea of how one thing can like pretty much be just a symbol, and it's a standalone symbol. But at the same time, if you add that extra color and that extra layer, you can say, no, this is a really important thing. This is an important event.
Yeah.
And then the next one down, if we go right down to the second row there, you can see that's supposed to be a chocolate
cookie.
Yep.
Yes,
see, you got a cookie. You. See, that's perfect.
My man. I don't see raisins in there, so we can still be friends.
Yeah. Yeah, raisins are tough to get into cookies. I don't know how people do it.
Thank you.
Then we got the bike again.
Yep.
And then that last one's just a crisscross pattern. I was like thinking to myself, like, I really like the way, and again, believe it or not, it was actually based on another cookie. We used to make these, they call peanut butter cookies.
Yeah.
And then
do the fork on them?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Do the fork on them. And that's what I was thinking of when I was making that.
Okay, cool. We got a robot buddy down here in the bottom left.
Robot buddy is always going to be just that perfect person that you want to be around, only saying what you want because it's a robot buddy.
Nice.
And he's a happy robot buddy, which is great.
They're the best kind.
Yeah.
It's the Skynet bullshit I'm worried about.
Yeah, no, those are the ones. Skynet's just peer pressure for robots. You have to remember that.
Skynet.
The next two are just doodles. Legitimately, I was just like, I didn't really. Yeah, right. I was like, and then the last one is that nice idea of the sun rising on America.
Okay,
the idea
sun rising on America.
Specific.
Make sure we're clarifying.
We are. There are better days coming. There are better days behind us. There's always good sunrises in the future. That's what I always like.
Yeah, that's fair.
And those are all the circles.
There we go. So so it came back. And now see, so each one of yours has some meaning, which is cool. I mean, I see a lot of them. Like some people, it is little doodles, but each one does. It's nice to see how they hold something to each person.
Yeah, no, I can only imagine that. Like, it's nice giving people the option of like, okay, there's this little vignette. It's a circle. Do what makes you feel like you, and that's it.
And every one of these is different, and they're all on the Facebook page. Check them out.
Awesome.
So that each person has their own little thing in there. So actually, I think I'm a couple behind as of right now, not as of yours.
No worries.
But I'm a couple behind. I got to put some of the most recent ones up from people, and it's nice to see where everybody's mind kind of goes, and I like that. It's spontaneous. I didn't like say here go. Take this for 24 hours.
Oh yeah,
draw and fill it in. No, it's like a spontaneous thing, and that's why we do the word association. And I want to see what makes people tick. I want to see what makes my guests work, which is kind of fun. So
that's awesome.
So you also noticed the arcade cabinet across the room.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
And I ask every one of my guests, what is your favorite video game of all time?
Oh, for me, it's so easy.
If it's a series, you got to knock it down to one.
Okay, no, I believe it or not, they would never make this into a series.
Okay.
It was really that wonderful of a video game. My favorite video game of all time was for a console for Nintendo 64.
Okay.
And it's a video game that you know what, I would say has a cult following of me. But it's goes by the name of Pokemon Snap.
Okay.
And basically there are maybe a dozen levels as of all. So there's just a dozen levels, and literally it's just different starting and ending points, either on a raft or on a different type of like basically amphibious device, where basically you're going through a jungle or some kind of Pokemon infested type of environment, and you're trying to take pictures of Pokemon. And for whatever reason, this is the only game I could ever really do well at. All other games, I was just dumbfounded. Like, they're so hard. And I just never was like, I loved like games like Perfect Dark or GoldenEye, where it's just shooting multiplayer games where you're just like going around and trying to surprise your friends, or just trying to outmaneuver your friends. I love those. Those were fun.
They should have let you play as Odd Job then.
Yeah.
Inside gamer geek joke.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. That's exactly it. Like, I love those though. But as far as like when I think of video games, the thing that I think that's most personal are the ones that somebody could just kill hours on without any kind of like second thought, and they just enjoy it, and it's not a lot of pressure because they're just doing what they're enjoying. And for me, there's nothing, no other game like that than Pokemon Snap. I don't know why. I couldn't tell you why.
Well, that begs the question: do you have any like photography history or anything like that? That's even like in your family that you know of, or anything? It seems like it's trying to peek its head out for some reason.
Yeah, no, I certainly. So I always think about photography, and I think to myself, boy, those individuals really. They can take a good picture, and like, you know, whether it be in a museum or if there was whatever type of photography that individuals are passionate about, whether it's their subject or however. My big thing is that like at the same time of having Pokemon Snap, I also had the I had the Game Boy camera adapter and printer. Oh. See, this is why it was never going to become a great big hobby. Like growing up, it's exactly that response. Because I remember thinking to myself, this isn't something I should be sinking a lot of my life investment into.
That poor camera was awful in so many ways.
It was so bad. It was so funny to me how you could. Now, here's the thing you could do. This was the very first camera that I knew of in my life, at least, and I could be wrong, and I could have missed the boat on something else, but that you could rotate the top of the camera and you could take selfies with.
A lot of people said that it was one of the first selfie cameras. I think there's a guy that talked about that. Maybe it's the 8-Bit Guy channel. You guys can talk. But he covers a lot of that stuff, and I think he was saying that this is one of the first forward-facing cameras.
Yeah,
and it was. I mean, what was the resolution on that thing? Almost 10 by 10.
It was bad.
So awful.
And it printed out these little stamp size.
Like little receipt paper.
Receipt paper, those black and white. Now, I think the receipt paper may have been sticky-sided, so you could turn them into stickers.
Yeah.
But I will tell you right now, nobody wanted those stickers.
I've been trying hard to get rid of my stickers for my podcast. I can't imagine what it must be like trying to get rid of those. Especially because then you could make these really creepy photos.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember those? There was the Easter egg in that thing.
Yeah.
Where if you did something, and you can look it up online, you could do something, and it would bring up these weird, creepy pictures in the middle of your Game Boy.
Oh, yeah.
And it was horrifying. Like, they'd show you these weird pictures of strange, like, Asian pictures with stuff drawn on it. It was like some crap that if you were up late at night and you were like, I'm a little tired, and then you pop this in and did it, you're like, I'm not sleeping for the night. Good. It was weird, man.
Yeah.
But oh man, some of those pictures were. You know what I think it was, the 8-Bit Guy, because he went around and tried to take some actual pictures, like in daylight, and do some pictures, and it was.
Oh, they must have been so bad.
They were terrible. They were terrible. I love your channel, 8-Bit Guy, if you ever see this, but I doubt you will. But hey, and it was the truth. It was so bad, this thing, and it was just like thermal printer, and that was it. Yeah, that was all it was thermal printer.
Really?
Same that prints on regular receipts. Yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah, man, that was a hell of a thing. Man, that's memory lane right there. God damn. So. I'm glad I never got one of them.
Oh no, it's such a waste. It was such a. There's no reason to have them. I still have mine, and I think to myself all the time, like, Andy, when are you gonna get back into photography?
It's the Game Boy camera that's pushing you.
Yeah,
it's sitting on the table. Going,
yeah, it's just like
just looking at you, going, man, Andy.
Just like, I just like, Andy, why'd you hang up your lens?
See, this should have been something you weren't proud of. You quit photography when you were at your prime.
Exactly. No, and I was really gonna make my mark.
There are so many huge photographers who came huge with those Game Boy 40 by 40 pictures. Yeah. Man.
They really did some great things.
I hope all of them stopped. I hope all of them quit, to be honest with you. So, before every one of these podcasts, I also make an ink blot for my guests.
Oh, nice. Awesome.
Nobody gets to see it beforehand, and so then I surprise them with it, and they get to see the ink blot for the first time when I hand it to them. So I'm going to hand Andy his ink blot. I'm putting it up there. You don't have to worry about seeing it up there because that's for the people who are watching.
Yeah.
So that is the ink blot that they see as well. So what do you see in this particular ink blot?
So, like, if I... Like right off the top of my head.
Yeah, that's what we want.
Yeah, right off the top of my head. It reminds me a little bit, and it's just like the shadows of the mask. Do you remember the movie Donnie Darko?
I did not see it.
No. So don't worry. It's only a cult classic, so it's not a mainstream. It's not mainstream.
I've heard of it, obviously.
But there's a rabbit mask in it, and it's a rabbit mask that's like, because the movie's slightly about time travel. It kind of basically is it's basically the way of his it's basically somebody who's talking to the main character.
Okay.
And but the shadows of it remind me, and specifically, obviously, the eyes sticking out. But automatically, the other thing it would kind of like really stick out to me is the idea of do you remember oh gosh, which video game was it? It was the video game with the face, and it reminded me a little bit of the face from Power Rangers. So this is like almost 20-some years ago.
Yeah, whatever the hell his name was.
Yeah, exactly. Just like this all-knowing type of face. Just because the whole face structures, it seems like it's larger than life.
Yeah.
And so it could seem like that. And then of course these would be like the eyebrows, and then like apart from the eyes, you've got like a mouth structure here.
Yeah. I saw something totally weird in this one. This was a strange one. I saw two people up top high-fiving.
Nice, true. I see that, yeah.
Two giant hands down below giving a thumbs up.
Oh, yeah,
That's what I saw in that one. It was...
Listen, I got to give it to you. That's an awesome handshake. One set of hands is high-fiving. The other one is doing the thumbs up.
You should do a thumbs up fist bump.
Yeah, a thumbs up.
That should be a thing.
That should be a thing. Here, let's try that right now.
There you go.
Like that. Yeah.
Catch on,
yeah,
folks.
There you go. That's it. I like that a lot.
And it's on tape, so...
It's on tape. There you go. It's immortal.
As long as YouTube doesn't take me down for anything, so it should be good.
This is really nice, though. I was just curious, how do you make the envelope?
It's all acrylic paint on paper. I fold the paper. Well, I give it a pre-crease. Okay. And then I drip paint on one side. And then smush, rub it around, and then bam.
Nice. Just like
that's
that.
That's the thing, and that's it.
That's perfect.
And that's what comes out. And it's random. What it is what it is. And it's just acrylic paint, which is a little thicker. I noticed I tried something thinner, and it just kind of ran in real easily.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it just this lets you kind of push it around. So as you push it, it gets
that blocky
you get the
feel.
Shape, and you can. Yeah. The tighter you put the dots, and everything, it gives you that. So, but that's yours to hang on to.
Oh, thank you very much.
Keep those,
I really like it.
I'm making one for each person, so hang on to that.
Thank you so much.
No
I love this.
So at the end of these, I ask everybody this question, and I'm probably going to guess this might be your answer because we know what it might be. But
nice.
So I ask everybody if you could go back. I call this Groundhog's Choice on this one.
Nice.
It's a silly name, but it's what it is.
No, I like it.
But if you could go back to a point, not even just a day, but a time period in your life, where would you go back?
Okay, and just so I understand,
like I was saying, like you could say, "Oh, I would go back to that ride." Like if you could go there and live, your eternity there.
Oh wow!
You could go back and live that eternity.
Yeah.
From there, where
So basically, relive that moment
like
again.
Groundhog's Day, and you could go back to whatever point you wanted. That's why I said I figured I might know this because if I would say, "Oh shit, that road trip."
Yeah, no,
definitely.
But the road trip definitely had certain days where I was just like, like that Wichita, like what a great way to see the city, and the kind of day that I'd relive would probably be something along the lines of...
It could be a time period.
It could be a time period.
Fair, some people have said, like, my freshman year of college, because I went out, was with my friends, and I moved on my own. So things like that. So I don't want to, limit it to a day, because that's not... that's kind of hard. So,
that's a good point.
A time period,
Absolutely. No, that makes perfect sense. So I definitely would say that road trip is something that I would want to certainly relive certain days of. Now, the one thing with the road trip I always try to remind myself is not every day was great, and that was just like something you had to deal with life. Yeah. Not every day's as good as the next. And so I try to go back and I try to remember things that I wish I enjoyed more, or things that honestly I wish I could just do day in and day out. And to answer your question the best, I would say there were a couple of skiing trips growing up where basically a group of friends of mine would go from South Jersey, where we live, grew up, and we would travel up to a place called Greek Peak up in Cortland, New York.
Okay.
And we would just go as friends, and it was kind of like a town type of event. It was not really through the school, but people who knew the family that was organizing it, they would organize it every year, Martin Luther King Day weekend. And I gotta say, those trips were just Fantastic. You were again hanging out with friends. You were traveling. I always had a great time. My parents would come, and like I think my brother would be there once or twice, but it was just like such a great time to just go skiing with your friends and like enjoy the day. It was a day where basically, much like your biking trip, you couldn't ski at night because of the way they didn't have lights at the mountain, and so it was just like a really nice way. For some reason, I always remember skiing, and I remember thinking to myself, or snowboarding, even I just remember like what a great way to spend a day. Like it's one of those things that you go up, you enjoy going down the mountain, hanging out with friends, goofing off. Nobody gets too hurt, and then like you just go up again and do the same thing again and again. It's really perfectly like Groundhog's Day in that sense.
There you go. Yeah, that's why I ask this one, because it's neat to look back at a point in your life where you might want to go back and spend, like if you had the chance to spend eternity there, it's like where would you want to spend it? And it's a weird thing to think about. So it's
Can I ask for yourself, like, has there been certain times where you're like, I really like this part of my life, and then you realize, like, looking back, oh, but what about this particular experience? So having those different types of thoughts, what for yourself you've realized, oh, it's always centered around this type of thing, like being around these particular friends or this particular family member, or like for yourself, have you found any kind of correlation to times that you've wanted to relive?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of things like that. I mean, the bike ride was a big one.
Yeah.
Would I go back there and relive it? I'm like, yeah, because seeing all of the country, and if I could go back and see it better, knowing that now I can just see it again and again and again. To do that, yeah, I would love to. But, I mean, reliving stuff like that, I've always been kind of by myself. I've always been sort of independent, so it's never been like, oh, this group of friends. It's for something like that to enjoy the rest of the world, and to finally, especially being 15, you're not tied down by a lot of stuff. You're not like worried like, oh, my job, and you're not worried about that stuff. It was, to have that kind of feeling that just like, man, I just want to go out and see all this stuff. The thoughts of that was pretty much the thing that I always thought if somebody had mentioned it, to me on that one, because I've been doing this part for like, every episode now almost, and I think that's probably why I'd go back there. I mean, it's hard for me to pinpoint something else, but I think I would want to go back there because just to see the world better, and maybe not with such angry eyes, I guess, because like I said, I didn't really get along with a lot of people, so I was in my own world. I was just in my headphones and just riding, and that was it. And to see the world in better eyes and take the time to look at everything around me and not just be like, fuck it, I'm gonna get home. That's kind of a thing. It's like you wish you could take back and just be like, I want to get home. When you're driving from work to home, you're like, who gives a fuck? Really, you're like, I want to get home.
Yeah.
But when you're in California riding a bike across the desert, across mountains, across plains, across everything, you shouldn't be thinking, I want to get home. There's the perfect saying. It's not about the destination, it's the journey. Yeah, I was going to get home. What did I see? What did I do? And that's, same as yours. What you got home, but it wasn't about just getting home. It was all the stuff that happened and all the stuff you saw. And again, being 15, I guess, was tough because you don't have that appreciation. It's just like, I got to get back. I'm going to survive. I'm not going to die out here. And that's, I mean, that's what it is. When you're older and you can be like, I could just ride all day, whatever, you're just for those who aren't on camera wondering what the hell we're looking at, my cat's freaking the fuck out right now and just tore up the stairs. So I guess it's really that. I would I'd want that, and to look at it with the eyes that I have now, and to know and to be more mature about it, and like look at the world and see the things and appreciate the world for what it was. That would be what I'd rather do. Yeah,
that's nice.
So it's deep, but
it's deep, but
well, it's the way it goes. I do. I really mean it, people. So for anybody who's hung on this long, you really got to find a way to find stuff in your life to see. I still have the ink blot up. Sorry. You got to see the things that you want to see in life. You got to enjoy it, and you got to make life better. Sitting there and bitching about it on Facebook, you're not going to do anything doing that. Get out there and do it. And whatever small or big thing it is, if you can do it and enjoy it and find the part of you, find a way to make yourself better because of it, you should. Small road trips, big road trips, hiking trips. I got a buddy who hiked the Appalachian Trail, and so he hiked that whole thing. And so doing that stuff, it's like, you're going to see into yourself and do it. And then you can always look back on it and know what you learned from it and understand it and really do it for yourself. You owe it to yourself, because otherwise you're just going through life, nothing going on. Even if it's 2 weeks, take 2-3 weeks off of work, save that vacation time up, take it and do something with it and find that chance. Go hike or camp or, just be in the wild by yourself for 3 weeks. Anything, just something. Find that thing you love and do it, and don't stop. Just don't, and then that'll, for what it's worth, it can make you better. So I hope. If I can help one person and message me and then say, hey, hopefully it's made your life better and you did something, and comment or send me an email if you do at some point in time. And I'd love to hear from you, because it's things like that have helped me get where I am. So, and hopefully, things like you've done, it's a big thing to spend that kind of time in a, what kind of car was it even?
We were in a 2015 Forester, so we were in a relatively new car.
You had some space.
Yeah, we had
some space.
Yeah, we got some space for the for the luggage. We each brought our own basically like hiking backpack. Right. And the reason was we were doing trips, like when we got to the Grand Canyon, we hiked all the way down, slept in the bottom, and then hiked all the way back. We did some camping along the way. But then, of course, we needed some room, obviously, for our other things like, our food and such. Yeah. So we had some space. The car was great. It's just a matter of, like, realizing a different type of mindset. Like, when you think, like, because I had worked really hard the year up to it, I was thinking this was like a vacation. And, like, no, that's not what a journey is. A journey, and you only realize that looking back, like, at the end. But it's just a different mindset that you have to have, yourself prepared for. And it's a lot like you said, where it's just like, you definitely have to make it a priority. You either have to take time off from work or however, but it's worth it. It absolutely is worth it, like you said. Absolutely.
Yeah. So there you go, folks. You hear it from somebody else, not just me. Not just me and my podcast saying it. I got people on the couch who can agree. So, is there any sort of social media pages you want me to get out there for people, Facebook or Instagram or anything like that you want people to follow you on? Or
absolutely. The website AJ Thor Eklund is being cleaned up at the time, but certainly my Instagram page and my Twitter page, and also add me on Facebook. I very much enjoy sharing these wonderful experiences. This podcast is fantastic.
Thanks.
And really, basically, I think the best part about that is, fans get to spend some extra time learning what this person's about. And for me, I'm just human garbage. So it's really I'm kidding. No, but I very much, so feel free to add me on Instagram and Twitter.
Well, I'll get links from him. I'll post links all down below. Perfect. So there'll all be links for Andy in any place you can find him, hopefully on your YouTube channel, which will be out after this whole thing is.
Absolutely.
So, we're recording this shortly before he's releasing that. So, I keep a few episodes in the can, so this will be in a few weeks, because I'm never sure if I'm going to have guests. So just to be sure, I like to have it backed up a little bit in case I get lazy for a week or two and I don't feel like recording or can't get anybody over. So I do that. And also make sure you check out our Facebook page for the In Your Head podcast. You can check out past episodes. There's links to everything there. You can get a good look at these. Everybody's Images are going to be up on there, so you can check all those out. And also, don't forget to check out the Patreon page that we have. I'll have a link down below for, well, it's patreon.com/inyourheadcast. Check that out. I have a couple cool incentives. Donate the $5 a month. I'll make you a pen, and I'll take a video of it being made. I will turn it for you, and I'll send it to you if you're a subscriber. Yeah, there you go. And if you do the $1 a month subscription, I'll even say thank you to you personally in a video. So
that's awesome.
So anything will help. It'll help get things going on here, help get me better backdrops, better mics, things like that, and hopefully grow this thing a little bit better. So, but I do want to thank you, Andy, for being on my podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, sir. And as always, folks who are paying attention, never buy an umbrella.